Yes, Georgia has a spot, and they won tonight, beat their arch rival Georgia Tech. The end. Stetson Bennett did his thing. All the superheroes did their thing. Georgia, Hack has an interesting point about Georgia here. We'll swing back to. There's a seat. TCU took care of their business tonight in big fashion. There was no barroom brawl to be had tonight with Iowa State. Took their head off, got on back on the bus, and got home as fast as they could. Fort Worth is buzzing this evening. There's 2 seats. Michigan settled the game. There's 3 seats. Now, when we come down to it, there basically was 3 teams, fellas, that all ironically have national championship legacy in the modern era. 2 of these teams more recent than others. Clemson controlled their own destiny. LSU controlled its own destiny. And here are the Trojans as well. Well, the first 2 botched it. Clemson gets beat on a late field goal by a team you would have thought wouldn't be sober coming down from Tennessee with South Carolina. Gamecocks go in there and they get them. Like, I'm honestly, that's one of the greatest untold coaching pieces all season. Your team knocks out Tennessee in the fashion they did. Rattler not only played up to his potential, but plays out of his mind, and it's on your own campus. And they come back down to earth, go over to Clemson and beat Clemson, who this isn't a team that's packed up its stuff. They got plans to try to get in the playoffs too. Back-to-back knockouts with South Carolina. Clemson's out. Go rest. Clemson, go rest. You've had a long 2 years. Go rest. LSU, carrying the weight of the 2-loss team world on your back. We've never really seen it like this before. They could really bogart their way into the playoffs, handle business tonight. No big deal with A&M. Get on in there, beat the White Walkers. You're the skunk at the party, but you in the party, you're out. LSU gets rocked tonight by A&M. Yep. A&M hops up. Now they decide to play football, and now you got USC. USC, 1 loss, takes care of business tonight, fellas. They have 1 loss, and they beat Notre Dame. They still have business to tend to. They'll either see Utah or Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. The conversation now shifts to a 1-loss Trojan team who's still handling business versus a potential 1-loss, well, not potential anymore, a 1-loss Buckeyes team who stayed in the top 4 all season and only lost to the number 3 team, although not very good and at home. What does the race look like to you in your mind as we play it forward? Do the Buckeyes have a real chance to put their resume up and make an argument against the Trojans? Felder, I'll start with you.
They're not, listen, if they do it, they do it. That's the reality. And this is something that people don't think about a lot, but there's a 13th data point, right? 13th data point. Ohio State has 12. They have 12 games that they've played. USC, by virtue of winning tonight, they get a 13th game. That's going to push them. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important for people to realize. And having especially when they tell us in I don't know how much we believe it, but how often do they tell us that conference championships matter? So if you win a conference championship, you should probably get the benefit of the doubt. You should get you get the push. And let's be real, it's USC. Come on, dog. It's USC.
Yeah.
It's USC. That's the entire West Coast. That's the whole West Coast, baby.
No, not just West Coast, west of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
That's half the country.
Here's the other thing, though. It's unfortunate because, realistically speaking, the game in a Pac-12 setting would be a rematch for the championship. Like, they would have played this game, and then it would have been a okay, 1-2 in the conference, go get them again next week, boys, right? So there's a little bit of disadvantage for the Big Ten and how and I've talked about this at length about how they've stacked the East so much, and I think they're going back. They're getting rid of this whole East-West thing and going back.
Yeah, the divisions.
Contenders and leaders or whatever the hell it was back in the day.
Legends and
there you go. Legends and leaders. Yep. See, there we go. But I think that that's a little bit of a disadvantage. Now, to me, the only way Ohio State gets in is if USC loses the Pac-12 championship game, and they're probably going to need help from someone else as well. I think
Right.
TCU might have to lose in the Big 12 championship game as well.
No one's more terrified than TCU.
But TCU, Ohio State could make it, and TCU could make it. You still got that fourth seat. You're saying, obviously, it helps if
Georgia,
two of these guys get up and leave. It helps even more.
But we're looking at Georgia,
Michigan, TCU,
and then USC.
Yeah, and then I think Ohio State's going to be 5, and they're going to be the odd man looking out. And I think they're still going to need some help, though. Yeah. I mean, I think that they could, I think people could make the, again, I don't know how they would.
Texas Tech just beat Oklahoma.
Oh gosh. Trevor Knight. Trev. At least half of his partying tonight.
So OSU would be 5. Alabama would be 6. Back come the Roman army. Right on. With no games left. Again, though the scary thing is Ohio State and Alabama are done until they get called to go play wherever they're going to go play. Mm-hmm. So you say an extra data point can be added to the teams that are going to be playing these conference championships, but those teams are also vulnerable. The Buckeyes in Alabama board up shop and wait. And really just they're going to pounce as soon as somebody else
makes a mistake.
Make a mistake. In comes 2 national brands that TV follows, college football follows, the national champion trophies have followed. That's the worst possible thing for TCU.
And they're 2 programs that have the benefit of the doubt, too.
Correct. And they get all benefit. They get all benefit. Coaching staffs, legacies, brand. And I'm not talking the last couple years. You're talking the last decade. Really forever. Decade.
15 years. Yeah.
No, I agree. And so that's what I think TCU is the team in the most precarious position. Because at the end of the day, if you have to pick between USC and Ohio State, because TCU loses in the Big 12 championship game, that's the part where that's what TCU's terrified of. Mm-hmm. Is TCU knows they won't pick us.
Right.
They're not going to pick us. They're going to pick them.
That's
the big thing. That's why today was so
relate to that. Who can't relate to that, Felder? Hack.
Yeah.
Who can't relate to not walking in with a normal size strike zone in some situation?
No, first of all, Hack can't relate to that. This guy's been the man. This guy's been the man.
Hack been the man his whole life. But I'm just simply saying, there were times at Penn State, Hack took the field and Vegas was rolling with the other team. And there were times when he was a New York Jet, Vegas took the other team. Yes, he himself has been the man, but he's been on teams that have been under some shade. But I'm just simply saying.
Guys, I play football at UNC. We we were never the guys.
Yeah.
I think we're a year ahead of the Tar Heels. But this year, you're a TCU. Imagine being in that film.
But they've already had it happen to them.
They have.
Yeah.
Imagine being in that team room come tomorrow.
2014. Imagine being on the staff. Imagine being in the admin. Imagine being a fan.
Yeah.
In 2014, you saw yourself get leapfrogged.
Right.
So you have to be perfect.
And so far they have been.
Yes.
And they woke up and had a monster night. I think winning tonight by 50+ points or whatever wound up being allows them to exhale and look at each other and say, look, we got this. Rushing out onto the field and taking care of business against Baylor in kind of a first responder type of way to kick goes, this and that. And as time expires, you're like, God damn, still undefeated. Like it couldn't have been that celebratory. It almost felt like, okay, we dodged one. In Texas, we dodged one. And another game, okay, we played well enough. Tonight, they can lean back, flex, and say, okay, we got this. We got one more, fellas. We got one more.
The interesting point. I'll hammer this point home as well. I know it's super cliche, but all of us who have been in this position and been in locker rooms and prepared for games know how hard this is. And it was one of the points I brought up last year about Georgia in the national championship game. It's really damn hard to beat a team twice in any sport, but particularly football in the same year. To go out and beat. They're going to have to go out and beat K-State, and it looks like it's going to be a healthy K-State this go around twice in the same year. That's a tough damn thing to do. So we'll see. And if they're able to do that, man, it's.
Well, let's touch on TCU. For those of you just rolling with us and didn't see the game tonight, TCU hosted Iowa State. Iowa State, a notorious knuckleballer, a notorious season spoiler. If you look back in their history in the last couple of years, that was not the case tonight. 62-14. It was all frogs all day. Strong effort from Max Duggan, 246 yards, 22 of 30. Our producer, Trevor Valise, says Vegas now has him a number 2 spot for the Heisman. At least he's right now going. And that Heisman deal, fellas, we can talk a whole show about that. It was only 4 weeks ago. It was Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, and C.J. Stroud. I don't even know if we'll see any of those 3 in New York now, although I think Hooker deserves it. Bryce Young's probably been the most underrated big-time performer. Hard to say that about an Alabama player. And C.J. Stroud had his first mortal day tonight, and all 3 could be watching the Heisman like we'll all be watching the Heisman, because a megawatt star down in Hollywood's been doing his thing quietly, and now he's getting bigger stages. And Max Duggan, 22 for 30 tonight, 246 yards, and the Horned Frogs, 62 points, 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns. The defense is starting to click up. These guys look vicious. It's still a question. Do we know if Kansas State won yet or not?
K-State won.
So they'll be playing Kansas State.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Hack, you've been saying this, I mean,
I know it's cliche forever. Shit, but
tell them.
It's hard. It's tough to do, man. It's tough to beat.
It's hard to beat a team twice
in the same year.
It is.
It's tough to do it.
It is.
And Felder, do you have any concerns about TCU handling the pressure, now looking over their shoulder, and you got Ohio State and Alabama looking right at you? Do you have any concerns about that?
I think today was an indicator of where both of those teams, or those 3 teams, I think today was an indicator of where those 3 teams stand. I think TCU, they're embracing that pressure. They know they have to be perfect, and they're going out to do I don't know if you guys did this in practice, but we used to do perfect plays.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have to, like, everything's got to go the right way, and you got to, and if you don't, it doesn't work, you got to do it again, and you 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 do it again. It's your script. It's the whole deal. You do perfect plays, TCU, that's what they're doing. Alabama is in the middle. And then you talked about Ohio State. I think Ohio State thought they could just turn it on when they wanted to.
That's what they have been doing.
I thought they could turn it on when they wanted to, and then they couldn't.
Yep.
As you said, an equal opposite, right? They couldn't do it. They couldn't turn it on. Didn't work for them. And they wasted those red zone trips. They missed tackles that led to huge plays, bad gap fits for, Donovan Edwards to just scoot to the end zone. And so you can't do that. And so for me, I think TCU is they're dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what TCU is? TCU is the kid in your class who knows they have to get an A, or their mom is going to beat their behind.
Yeah.
Now watch them get knocked out next week by Kansas State. We'll see how that holds up. I'm just kidding. For all the frogs, I'm just kidding. We are rolling with the frogs. Let's talk about that front porch. Clemson, we talked about that. Clemson out. Got beat 31-30 to South Carolina. That one, obviously, I wasn't shocked by that.
No.
I was surprised, but there was no shock. The shock came at A&M, Texas A&M, who found every possible way to lose 7 different times this year. And it wasn't just App State. They had a couple of just mind-numbing, heartbreaking, what are you doing type losses. They pop up tonight of all nights. The Fighting Jimbo Fishers, 38-23 on an LSU team that controls its own destiny.
Yeah.
Beat the Aggies, get to Atlanta, pull off something crazy, find yourself into the playoff deal. You can be chilling. Not so fast. 38-23. A&M somehow, some way finds 429 yards of offense. They run for 274 yards on the ground on 50 attempts. That doesn't sound like trickery. That doesn't sound like double reverses or any of that.
It wasn't.
And for all that talk that we laid on A&M and all their coaching and the buyout and everything and all this about LSU, Lane Kiffin getting an extension, Mississippi State made a lot of noise. Arkansas was undefeated all through the first 5-6 weeks. It's still Jurassic Park. And it's not enough just to be a dinosaur every week. You got to act like a dinosaur every week. And if you don't, you find yourself on your back. LSU is out.